o'clock, our monthly meeting at Forest Service NRCS Valley. Hope to have a few little refreshments for you. As usual. That's all I have, Commissioners. Thank you for your time.
Thank
Mike.
you.
Thank you, Mike.
You're welcome. And Cole, and I'll go downstairs. Get somebody to swear at me. I'm swearing.
She's ahead of Sherry there.
I'm sure I left that board. I don't know. Thank you.
We need a motion to get the clock changed up.
Yeah.
They're still running a little behind schedule. Need for chief administration officer.
Can I ask one quick question? Is Corey here for that or for the meeting policy?
I was just gonna watch this, I'm not participating in anything unless I'm asked a question, so.
Okay,
The meeting policy, what's that?
that
That's what
was,
I gonna give to you the other day.
we just had it like
Oh.
15, 20 minutes ago. Public process policy.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning, Roger.
I was here last week presenting this proposal as a citizen, asking the Broadwater Commissioners to establish a position of Chief Administrative Officer with this county government. And this is the second time I presented the need for a Chief Administrative Officer. And so I'd like to start out first with asking that my question earlier today be answered. When you were discussing with Brian, the fact that he was actually going through and auditing records to identify sources of funding for sanitation fees, I asked the question, is there anybody on staff who has experience in auditing who could help him do this and could put together an audit plan for it, or even do the audit for it? Is there anybody on staff that can do that?
Not that I'm aware of.
Frank, is there anybody on staff that can do that? Corey, do you have anybody on your staff that can do that?
I've been through a few audits, I could probably do it if I had the time. Not planning on volunteering to go down and sift through a bunch of records.
Okay, exactly. Last time I presented this, I talked about 3 different issues that really should have been handled by a chief administrative officer. First one is the horse rescue fund. Let's learn by our mistakes. Concerning the horse rescue fund, I would think that if you had a chief administrative officer and that he was competent, if this situation came up again, I would think that your chief administrative officer would say, because of past problems, with any department head, elected or department head, any person, any department that needs additional funding, fine. Give them the additional funding, make them show the need. But in situations such as the sheriff's office, where there have been examples of challenges in budgeting, let's say, you turned $127,471.44 over to that department, which you should have done. I totally agree with you. But you just turned it over to a department that has had management problems in the past, and now it's coming back to bite you. I talked to people in the public about this $127,000. First person I talked to said, what are they doing, feeding the horses gold? I mean, this may be necessary, but we don't know. It hasn't been managed. Has the money been spent correctly? Then let's go on to the sheriff's lawsuit. I'm glad we came to a definition on that this morning. Franklin disagrees with me. He has every right to. But it's my contention that the sheriff's lawsuit came about through lack of communication. If you had a chief administrative officer, his duty would be to make sure that all communications flow through that office. Is that for a power trip? No. That's to make sure all of the details are being taken care of. There were communications, well, I feel, outside of the communication channels that should have been established. You don't have any communication channels established, or they're not being observed.
We do, I will add, I'll step in a little bit, we do now, we have a county attorney that handles these things greatly. He's performed great in just the short time he's been here already, so a lot of these problems would have never existed.
He never should have had to deal with that if there had been a procedure in place ahead of it.
Well,
He never should have had to deal with it. There was a breakdown in the administration of this county, that there wasn't a procedure in place to handle this. It was a breakdown.
that's why it wouldn't happen. I feel it wouldn't happen because we have a very competent county attorney now that these things would take place.
Are you prepared to have every little detail of the county, running the county government run through your office for your opinion?
But I don't know that that's really what the issue is. I mean, you go ahead with what you're doing. If you want me to provide a comment, I will later, but go ahead with whatever you're doing now, Roger.
Okay. And the third thing that I noticed was that when I did some research, your human resources contract, you've only spent $2,429 on human resources. And I've heard discussions in here on human resources. As a former auditor, investigator, and administrator, that number alarms me. Human resources is a major thing in the county governments now. And you've only spent $2,400. So, that's my case for the need for administrator. I can make a lot of other points too, such as Nicole Brown's presentation this morning on the volunteer, on the boards. An administrative officer would probably come from the outside sector. This person, he or she, may have experience in this from the outside sector. Now let's talk about the chief administrative officers and what they can, and what this position could do for the county. Look down here at examples of duties. Have I passed these out? No, I haven't.
Thank you.
Elaine.
When you're done.
I'll read mine. This position description here is taken from public information. This is the description that was used and written up for Lewis and Clark County. As you can see here under examples of duties, directs the county's management and administrative activities, coordinates departments, assignments, and activities, leads, develops, or shortens the long-range plans, provides professional advice to county commission, other elected officials, department heads, recommends and oversees implementation of policies and rules. There's no one in place to do that right now, is there?
Commissioners do.
It's not the commissioner's job. Conducts research and studies, recommends practices, procedures, and organizational changes that will bring about greater efficiency in efficiency and economy in county government. You heard from Brian this morning. I rest my case on that one. Directs, supervises, advises, motivates, counsels, trains, evaluates the work and performance of assigned department heads. Your department heads are doing an excellent job. They really are. This county is very blessed with good, competent employees. Because of that, your chief administrative officer, it will make his job much easier. The quality of the employees in this county is just great. Back to the human resources contract, one thing that might be in your favor here as far as the money you've spent on human resources, you don't have a very high turnover, do
Not, it depends on the department. But for the most part, for, the sheriff's office has had a very high turnover, but we have not in any other department.
Okay. Represent the Board of County Commissioners in relationship with department heads, other governmental agencies, news media, citizens, performs other duties as assigned. That performs other duties as assigned is essential. Special projects. I don't know what you're doing for special projects. Now, you might be wondering what special projects are. Like Brian's audit of the sanitary landfill records. Your chief administrative officer should have enough experience that they will have dealt with many problems that you already having to deal with. Let's move on here really quickly. Advises the board and directs Board of County Commissioners concerning the findings of audits, investigations performed internally or done by other government agencies. Your chief administrative officers should have audit and investigative experience so that they can interpret the audits and explain them to you. Represents Broadwater County or assists Broadwater County Commissioners in matters concerning Montana Association of Counties and Montana legislative hearings. You have a very good relationship through Laura with NACO right now. I congratulate you, so. I congratulate you on that. Very good. And I added the 7th one here. Serves as head of human resources for employees of Broadwater County. It's my understanding that you have a employee handbook that's way outdated, that needs work on. Just a whole bunch of things in this county need the attention of the chief administrative officer. I mean, we are, both from the federal government and the state government, we're having all sorts of rules and regulations coming our direction. It's not the job of the commissioners to do much of what they're doing right now. 3 or 4 weeks ago, Laura presented a budget and then voted on it. I've never sat on a board, never been around a board, where a board member presents something and then they vote on it, especially something financial. Chief Administrative Officer should be the one who's presenting the budget and explaining it to you. Let's go on then. I did a market survey. You find it's the last page of your handout. Let's see if I've got another one. Paper. As you can see here, I surveyed the 3 largest entities in the county, well, 2 other entities in the county that are as large as Broadwater County and do similar type things, spend taxpayers' money or serve the community. Here you've got the Townsend School District. It has 123 employees. It has a budget of $6.3 million. Does it have an administrator? Yes. And that administrator is paid $84,776 a year. Broadwater Health Center, the hospital, 95 employees, budget of $5.5 million. They've got a chief administrator. They've got an administrator. He does a very good job. When I was talking to him, he wouldn't disclose his salary to me, which is proper. He disclosed the salary range of administrators in hospitals of his size. Salary range is 120,000 to 180,000. He did say he had accepted the low range of this. So you've got 95 employees, $5.5 million budget, 120,000. Broadwater County, 75 employees, not as many employees. Budget, I've got it listed here as $12,250,000. I understand from talking with county employees that actually it's 13.5 to 14 million. Am I correct in that?
Yes.
Okay, and you have no administrator. The commission itself is handling the millions of dollars. Concerning the salary that I set up for this position, of chief administrative officer. I'm proposing that you hire a chief administrative officer at a .8 position. This county has 5,800 citizens approximately. It's not a large county. It doesn't need a chief administrative officer full-time at this time, I don't believe. When you hire a chief administrative officer, you may find that different. But I've listed this proposal at a .8 position, 32 hours a week to start out with. At a salary of $41,600 a year. That works out to $25 an hour. Your public health nurses are making what, $27 an hour?
21.
21? Okay. Well, for a small county, I really feel that, and this being a .8 position, I feel that this is the proper amount of money to get a chief administrative officer who's not looking to this as a career builder, who's looking to this as a position to come in and really serve the community. I've also written into here, and I don't know whether this is legal or not, we can deal with it. Second page of the position description. Hiring preference, bottom of the page. Hiring preference will be given to applicants residing in Broadwater County. This is an exempt position. The chief administrative officer will serve at the pleasure of the board, Broadwater Board of County Commissioners. Reason I put this in here is I feel that if the county should hire a chief administrative officer, that person should be from the county. That person should have some skin in the game. So, with that, what I'm asking is, for this commission to consider this, what I'm asking for is that it would be put on the agenda for next week for public discussion, and then move forward with this.
I have a question, Roger.
Sure.
Could this person also, in some ways, well, be an aid, number one, to the commissioners? Couldn't that person do letters and research?
I think that commission, speaking of letters, that's a good point. I don't think the commissioners should be writing letters. I think that the chief administrative officer should be writing your letters. First off, some of the commissioners just don't have any experience in this sort of thing.
Right.
I'm sure you're all very good in what you do outside of the commission.
If this position is so great, and it works so well at the hospital, how come the hospitals constantly have to borrow more money all the time?
Because the hospitals started out in a bad place.
I'm not saying nothing.
Okay, so how can I better address that? How come the hospital's in such a
Go
bad
ahead,
place?
Can I ask a question? What the county commissioners do, the type of government we have in the county, I'm not all that familiar with, but I have talked to some other person. And from what I understand from that person, that's not the type of government that the county runs on by adding a chief administrator office. I was wondering if that's correct or not.
It
Well,
isn't.
I was gonna ask the same question.
Mr. Schmaltz, go ahead.
Lewis and Clark County is the same form of government we are, and they have a chief administrative officer. You can't do, that's the only form you can do is chief administrative officer. You can't do an executive officer or county manager. But this was something we looked at a couple months ago in answer to a question from the public. So yeah, it is the only thing, the only title we can do with this form of government.
Well, I just wanna ask a question about that. So, are you suggesting a change of our form of county government?
No,
You're not? So we're a commission form of government.
Right.
We all agree on that?
No, are we,
Yeah, commission.
is it commission form?
Yeah.
I guess it is. Okay, sorry.
So, in, so 7-3-301 Montana Code, for a commission manager government, which is a different form, it says the commission manager form consists of an elected commission, which can also be called council if it's a city, and a manager appointed by the commission, who is the chief administrative officer of the local government. So, and I was looking for this, and Mike helped me out, I was looking for that term, the chief administrative officer, and I see that mentioned for commission manager. I don't see that listed anywhere for commission form of government. What I do see is under 7-3-415, administrative assistants. The commission may appoint one or more administrative assistants to assist them in the supervision and operation of the local government. So, as I understand it from previously speaking to Harold Blatty about this, is that that's actually what Elizabeth Park County has, and I think Flathead County, even though the person's duties are probably closer to a chief administrative officer, they're actually appointed under the administrative assistant provision for a commission form of government. So that's my first question is, do you contemplate that, or do you contemplate a different form of government?
I contemplate the same form of government. Thank you for looking that up. My question back to you then is, on this position description, should the position be renamed to be in
It's not
compliance?
my proposal, so
Okay.
you can rename it however you want. My point is, I think it changes the authority of that position. Administrative assistant versus chief administrative officer, I think there's a difference there.
Any other comments?
If you're asking for comments, I do have comments, but I'm not sure if the question part of it's done, so. Well, there's a lot of what Roger's saying that makes sense. I think there's a lot of things that any organization with this many people in different departments, there is a lot of utility in having somebody that is kind of running the day-to-day operation, or at least keeping track of the day-to-day operation. In this type of commission government, though, I mean, it's designed so that, generally for smaller counties, but it's designed so the commission is the authority. And by statute, you are the authority supervising the various departments, to the extent that it isn't, say, in my authority as a separate elected official. So I think there's utility in the commission considering the administrative assistant type of person. That's different than, I think, the authority, and probably less authority than over elected officials and department heads that is being discussed here or proposed here today. I mean, frankly, depending on if there's a chief administrative officer that's saying, okay, we're gonna do this and we're gonna do that, there's gonna reach some point where as county attorney, I'm gonna say, no, I set the policy for my office, you don't, so, there's the line, and don't stay on that side of the line, and you'll be fine. But the other thing, I guess, that, and because of the way this has been proposed, this is a very odd, manner in which, Roger, in which we propose this, because you're not just saying, create a position, you're attaching your resume and saying, create a position and hire me.
There's no reason to just,
Well, the one I just looked at with Ann had your resume attached to it.
yeah, that was a mistake on my part.
Well, but we can't, I mean, let's not ignore the fact that we had the same conversation a year ago.
Yeah.
And it's clear that that's what was contemplated a year ago, and I'm assuming you're still in the running if this position's appointed, that happens.
When I'm applying for it.
And so, I mean, that's odd to begin with, that someone walks in and says, hey, create a position and hire me, and restrict it to only residents of Broadwater County, And people that have this background, which matches my resume exactly, it looks odd. Let's just be straightforward about that. I happened to, last year when this came up, I know everybody on this reference list, and I talked to all of them, Jim Rice, Rick Hill, Tim Fox, and Peggy Trink, and all of them said, whoa, what, he's putting my name in for what? And Peggy said, yeah, and I've known Peggy for years. Peggy said, yeah, I know Roger, I put him down as I told him, he could put me down as a reference. But the extent of some of the other comments that went on, and some of the other things that happened in the background as far as, support me, and we'll, some emails to this local Republican Party, there was a big hullabaloo about it. All that left me very, very skeptical of this idea, number one, and skeptical of the way that Roger was presenting it. So I would just tell you, commissioners, if you're gonna go forward with this, I would recommend you open it to a full range of candidates, that you don't do it as an exempt, hire the guy who came up with the idea position, because frankly, I think it smells funny. And third, I would make sure that you're tailoring it to the administrative assistant authority under the statute, not chief administrative officer. I think at that point, you're flirting with handing that person more authority than the statute would give them.
Well, this would have to be advertised 2 or 3 times, right?
Yeah.
Just like anybody else, any other position.
And I think too, Corey, I think everything you've stated as far as the particulars related to the job description, MCA, the process is exactly what we've been talking about. Anytime any member of the public comes forward with an idea, we hear them. It's a matter of being polite.
Oh, no, I think it's a good discussion, and
But don't assume that we're just moving ahead. Everything we do is meticulous. You've been privy to a number of emails. Certainly when this happened a year ago, Gerald Blatty was privy to a whole host of emails, and of course we have his feedback on structure, titles, job titles, all of it. So this isn't something we're gonna shoot from the hip on, ever. It truly is a very meticulous, very detail-oriented, very slow process that we would follow. If we were gonna move forward on anything, it's the same process, or at least it has to be, in my opinion, always.
We don't have any choice.
No.
yeah.
So, no, but I just wanna make sure that you understand that.
I actually agree with Corey. If we're gonna do this, let's do it right.
Yes.
I agree.
That's the only way it can be done.
Okay, exactly. What I'm proposing then as a citizen, taxpayer, voter, is that the county move forward with filling whatever this position is defined as, to do the research, get position descriptions from counties that have positions like this, do a survey of wages. And in defense of myself, in front of everybody here, I think outside of the box. I came in here as a candidate for county commission, saw what was going on, saw the problems with this county, saw the problems in the Republican Party. And from that, through my experience in professional positions, I realized that this county needs some organization, needs some administration, and that's why I'm here. And yes, it does fit my experience. If you can find somebody else for this position that has as much experience as I do, in as many varied areas, hire them. If you can find somebody else that is willing to work the 4-day schedule at 41.6, hire them. But let's get this county moving forward in a professional way. It's about time you came up to the 21st century. And especially with the rules and regulations that are coming down. So I'm asking right now that the county move forward swiftly on this.
Any other comments out there from anybody?
You got a lot of money to borrow.
What's that?
I hope you got a lot of money to borrow.
Well, thank you for
In
your
real-
presentation, and we'll take us under advisement. We'll go from there. I think we'll adjourn for recess for lunch. Be back at 1:30.
I did too.